Hey everyone, welcome. I am so thrilled you're joining me today because we have something incredibly fun to unpack. We are going to break down the sheer, absolute comedic brilliance of how an iconic, highly serious, and deeply revered Indian game show is parodied into just unadulterated chaos. We're looking at a classic sketch from the animation channel Make Joke Of, which takes the format of Khan Banaga Crorepati, that's India's version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and literally destroys every single rule of television production. Today, we're dissecting the anatomy of this parody to figure out exactly why watching everything go terribly, horribly wrong is just so perfectly entertaining.
So think about this for a second. What actually happens when India's most prestigious game show gets hijacked by its absolute worst contestant? We all know traditional television etiquette, right? We expect dramatic lighting, tense music, a host who commands absolute respect, and a contestant who is humble, grateful, and probably a little nervous to be there. But in the source material we're analyzing today, that reverence is instantly thrown out the window. As you'll see, we're dealing with a reality where the contestant couldn't care less about the prestige, and the host is pushed entirely past his breaking point.
All right, let's really dive into this dynamic. Normally, we expect that revered host, the humble contestant, and the strict rules. It's what we've been conditioned to expect for decades of watching TV. But in the MJO reality, the host is immediately frustrated. Our contestant, Champu, is wildly impatient, and the rules are completely non-existent. The entire sketch relies on this total role reversal. I mean, anyone who has ever dealt with an impossible customer or a deeply stubborn coworker knows exactly where this is heading. The comedy here doesn't actually come from the trivia questions. It comes from the total collapse of the television format itself.
To show you just how quickly the illusion shatters, listen to this exchange from the very beginning. The host is trying to start the show, right? And the director interrupts to casually mention the camera isn't even on. The host snaps back, "What's the need for a camera? You're recording with your eyes, right? Go telecast it with your eyes." It's brilliant. The sketch immediately shatters the fourth wall. Before the game even officially begins, they completely throw away the magic of television, showing us the host and the director bickering like irritated office workers instead of polished media professionals. And that brings us to this glorious inversion of power. In a normal game show, the host is basically a godlike figure. They hold all the answers, they hold all the money, they control the room. But here, that authority is instantly stripped away. Shampoo doesn't see the host as a big star. He just sees him as this highly annoying guy standing between him and a payout. So when the host tries to do his standard dramatic explanation of the rules, Shampoo just cuts him right off. He says, "Move forward, brother. I know all the rules. My ears are bleeding from listening to this for 10 years. He literally points out the reality that we, the audience, already know. The show's been on for a decade. We all know how it works. Shampoo's complete lack of respect totally flips the script on the grateful contestant trope. He actively resents the host for just doing his job, treating the dramatic exposition like it's a pure annoyance. Well, the host finally manages to get to the game, and we hit the first milestone, a grand total of 1,000 rupees. Now, in the context of a show where you can win tens of millions, this stake is comically low. It's the easiest hurdle, designed to be practically impossible to get wrong, and this tiny, insignificant amount perfectly sets up Champu's wildly disproportionate reaction to winning it. So how does Champu react to clearing this impossibly low bar? He instantly demands, "Burst the firecrackers, I won!" He doesn't want polite applause, oh no. He demands a massive, spectacular celebration. The sheer entitlement here is just laugh-out-loud funny because it so heavily contrasts with the incredibly modest nature of his actual achievement. The mass of the situation is what really sells it. Champu's winnings are exactly 1,000 rupees, but the firecrackers he's demanding, the host frantically points out they would cost 10,000 rupees. It beautifully showcases the sketch's absurd escalation. The host has to use this incredibly frustrated logic, basically shouting that you absolutely cannot spend 10,000 to celebrate winning 1,000. It's literally like asking your boss to throw a $1,000 catered party because you successfully answered a single email. The economics of the game show are failing just as hard as the etiquette. Okay, so we've seen the host lose control of the production, and we've seen him lose control of the contestant. Now, the mechanics of the game itself completely betray him in this absurd escalation. Just consider this absolute gem of a question. Which of these is not found in a sweet shop? Option D, shoe. When the question is first sent over, the host reads it wrong, completely forgetting the word not. Champu starts calling out to the option Rabdi, like he's calling a street dog. But when the host finally reads the options out loud, Rabdi, Rasgulla, Jalebi, and a shoe, The entire intellectual facade of the trivia show crumbles into a complete farce. The host realizes his own production team sent him a question where shoe is a valid multiple-choice option for a sweet shop, and he is just as furious about it as anyone else would be. Tracking the degradation of the host's patience here is a masterclass in comedic pacing. Minute 1, he is trying his absolute best to introduce the rules calmly. By minute 3, he's actively arguing over the shoe typo with his own crew. By minute 5, Champu is greedily reaching his hand out for his money, and the host literally threatens to slap him so hard he will fly all the way to Calcutta. And finally, by minute 8, we descend into a totally childish alphabet argument. We've all been there, right? Trying to stay professional when absolutely everything is going wrong around us? But this host simply gives up. The professional presenter is entirely gone, replaced by a guy threatening physical violence. Trying desperately to save face, the host makes one last attempt to regain control. He goes for an overly dramatic historical buildup referencing the epic film Bahubali, Mahishmati's emperor, son of Sivagami, the whole shebang. He follows it with a stern demand for respect and proper decorum from Champu. And how does the universe reward him? The question fails to load, resulting in a complete and utter system glitch. He tries to sound majestic, and his own computer completely undermines him. After that majestic, theatrical Bahubali monologue, these are the actual options that pop up on his screen. Grandmother, grandson, papa, brother. Followed by a literal stream of glitchy nonsense. LMNOPQRST. It's fascinating how the comedic timing of this technological letdown is just perfection. The host realizes he's trapped in a nightmare where absolutely nothing works, but he still has to sit there and read it out loud to the contestant. Which brings us right to the climax. The playground squabble. They finally move on to a supposedly difficult question about a 1545 ruler in Egypt, and whatever tiny, microscopic shred of the game was left just completely falls apart. We shift from a broken game show to two people simply refusing to cooperate on a fundamental human level. Before the host can even finish reading the options, Champu drops this brilliant, airtight strategy. It feels like A, so I'll choose A without hearing the options. I mean, this is completely irrational gameplay. You literally cannot guess A if you don't even know what words are attached to it. But Champu insists that he just has a strong gut feeling that the letter A is the correct vibe. It defeats the entire intellectual purpose of a trivia game, and predictably, this pushes the host right over the edge. The host tells him very clearly the answer isn't A, it's B. Champu says he doesn't care, he wants A. And the result is this rapid-fire, nonsensical argument. A, B, A, B, A, B, D, C, D, 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 A. The ultimate joke of the entire sketch is executed perfectly right here. The intellectual facade is gone. The fancy set, the trivia, the millions in prize money, none of it matters anymore. The majestic television show has been reduced to two grown adults screaming random letters at each other like bickering toddlers on a playground. Ultimately, if the true brilliance of parody is taking the majestic and reducing it down to the absolutely ridiculous, you really have to ask yourself, isn't this actually the most accurate game show ever made? It strips away all the fake smiles, the forced tension, and that heavily scripted politeness, leaving only raw frustration, technical errors, and human impatience. It's a comedic masterpiece because it finally just says the quiet part out loud. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and until next time, keep questioning the rules of the game.